Welcome to another decision of ECAC Hockey Decision Makers. I'm Pierre McGuire. So pleased, thrilled, excited to be joined by Haley Winn, the pride of, Rochester, New York? Should we say Bishop Kearney? Should we say Clarkson University? What should we say, Haley? The pride of?
I feel like you gotta go Rochester, hometown, but all of the above, I feel.
I spent a lot of time in Rochester, New York. I love going to watch the Amerks play. Played a lot of games against RAT back in the day, so I know the area pretty darn well. I also know your level of play and how much you've helped grow the women's game. When somebody says that to you, how does that resonate?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like when you're so involved in it and like just in the game, going day by day, you don't really see the impact that you kind of have on the game, or especially like a lot of the women or girls playing growing up. But I think when I go home and kind of see how far the game has gone, like I played boys growing up, and now girls at 10 are playing on all girls teams, which is like awesome to see. So I think, it takes a second. You have to take a step back and kind of realize, the impact in the game that you've made or the potential to make, and really realize that like it's so much bigger than the game and bigger than the day by day that you're in. And it's been super cool to see that, especially when I get to go back home and see a lot of the young girls playing.
Haley, I've had the honor of doing so many of the games you played at Clarkson in particular, whether it was playoff games or the day game against St. Lawrence University. I know what your strongest assets are as a player. I just need to ask the question, where did the shot come from? Because the shot is overwhelming, Haley.
Honestly, it took a lot of work. I think you asked Matt Desrosiers when he first recruited me, probably in grade 9, probably was just getting the puck off the ice. It wasn't until high school where we had a shooting room at Bishop Kearney, and I definitely spent a lot of my time down there with some of the girls before school, after school, whenever. So definitely started in there, and then kind of just became routine at that point, and I got to carry it into Clarkson and continue to work on it. But yeah, definitely didn't come naturally. With the boys, I was not the most prized shooter. They didn't always want me shooting from the blue line because I don't know if I could get the puck off the ice. But definitely took a lot of work. But I was super grateful for just all the resources I had growing up, and took advantage of those for sure.
You talked about Matt Desrosiers. I got to tell you right now, I've been in his office and we've talked about you and the different things that you do as a player. And one of the things he says, we have a shooting room here at Cheel Arena. And he says the number one person in there every day is Haley Winn, and she probably shoots 500 pucks a day. Is that embellishment or is that true?
I think it depends on the day. I think probably more like 300 would be accurate, but I definitely spent a lot of time in there, and it was an adjustment to college that I think like freshman year and sophomore year, like spent a lot of more time, and then kind of learned how to balance it out with how much you're playing and everything else. But no, I definitely love the shooting room. Spent a lot of time in there for sure.
You have 3 brothers that played. One played at Brockport, Casey, Ryan, who played at Bowdoin, and another one, Thomas, who just kind of ended his career at Geneseo, where he was a captain. How much did you learn playing with or against your brothers?
Yeah, so much. I mean, obviously it was awesome having them to look up to. That's obviously how I got into it, just following their footsteps. But it was awesome. I think, growing up had a lot of fun times on the outdoor rink and in the driveway, and they were definitely pretty hard on me. I was always in the game, but didn't really count, and definitely had to earn my spot on the ice. But I think I've finally done that, which is good news. But no, they taught me so much. Obviously they were hard on me, and I think kind of obviously made me who I am today, but they're also like the most supportive brothers I could ask for. They've been to as many, world championships as they could, as many Clarkson games. I know like my oldest brother was able to go to the most memorable game is like at Clarkson when we went into quadruple overtime with Minnesota, and he was at that game, and he was like more nervous than me. He was like pacing back and forth, and you can just see how much they care. I think my dream has almost turned into theirs, and I think they show it every day, and it was awesome to obviously have them to look up to, and now just seeing all their support is awesome.
Haley, I was a fan of the Montreal Canadiens. I grew up in Montreal. Our teams always won, so I could cut school in the spring. Did you have a favorite NHL team?
Well, growing up, it kind of had to be Buffalo because they were just closest. Nowadays, I feel like more just players. Like I love just watching, obviously players, any team that's on. But yeah, growing up, it was definitely Buffalo. But I've had to adjust throughout the years.
That's good. Well, that's the Rochester Hammocks and the Buffalo Sabres have had this unbelievable symmetry for a long period of time. I go back to when Mike Keenan was coaching there in 1983, long before you were born. They won a Calder Cup then, and they had a memorable team. I got to ask you, you talk about all these different things and the support of your family and your brothers. I know this is a huge year for women's hockey in particular because it's an Olympic year. When do you find out about the roster? What's your feeling about going into the Olympic Games, and have you ever been to Italy before?
Yeah, so I think we find out either like end of December, beginning of January. So coming up quick, but it's felt like a long time coming. Never been to Italy, so hopefully I can check that one off the bucket list. But it's obviously been a pretty long off season. Just obviously graduating. My last games were in April, and then just played a few weeks ago for the first time. So that was like a huge adjustment this summer, just learning how to kind of balance your load. And then with the Olympics coming up, we had like camps once a month for like a week or two. So it was like you had to find the right times to peak, and then you had to deload and kind of manage that. So it was definitely a big learning curve for me this summer and adjusting to all that. But yeah, so we had Olympic tryouts this summer, and they're kind of still going on. And you kind of just, go in. Yeah, I don't even know. I go in with an open mind. Obviously, that's been a dream of mine since I started playing. It was super exciting to get some games under the belt in November Rivalry series. We were playing in Buffalo, actually, in Cleveland. But yeah, I think it would be such obviously a huge honor to be able to represent your country at that level, and something that I obviously have jumped out, like I said, but. We'll obviously see what happens in December and January. And I know like no matter what happens, doesn't really change, who I am as a person or a player. So just trying to kind of have a good start to the PW season, and hopefully that'll lead me in the right direction. Before
you talked about you cheer for players more than you cheer for teams. Now, is there one player in particular you're like, wow, I'd like to be like that player?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a pretty obvious one is like Cale Makar. I love obviously watching him and Quinn Hughes and all those like offensive D in the league are just so skilled and so fun to watch. But yeah, so those are like I feel like the main two, but definitely just a lot of such skilled players in the league.
I know you're back from a 2-game exhibition game series up in Montreal. Thank you very much for doing this, by the way. I know you got home late last night. But I got to ask you, they're young ladies and young girls that are looking at you now and they're saying, well, that's my version of Cale Makar. That's my version of Quinn Hughes when they talk about Haley Winn. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I guess it's incredible. I feel like I said at the beginning, you kind of have to take a step back and kind of realize where you are and what you're doing. I think when you're so like involved in the moment, like it doesn't really feel like a big deal. I've been playing hockey since as long as I could remember. So it's kind of just, it's the norm. It's the routine, doing what you're doing. And then, you take a step back and you're like, wow, like, you're actually making an impact. You're having an opportunity to go to the Olympics, like on the highest stage and play professionally. And I sometimes think, you don't realize what you're doing until you take a step back and kind of realize it. So, yeah, I mean, even like being in the same sentence as those guys obviously is awesome and something you don't take for granted. So, yeah.
I got to say this, you were an amazing player at Clarkson, not a little bit good. You were an amazing player, and I watched you play a lot of games. So I was really impressed by the completeness of your game. You weren't just a one-trick pony with your shot. It was your first pass in the breakout. It was defending. It was logging big minutes. It was running a power play so efficiently. It was distributing the puck. There was so much that I enjoyed watching whenever I watched you play. How much did the ECAC help prepare you to be the second overall pick in the PWHL and even be knocking on the door for an Olympic berth? Yeah.
No, the ECAC is awesome. Obviously, I'm pretty biased, but it's such a fun league to play in. Like every night, it's going to be a battle. There's no weekend where it's going to be an off weekend, and you're kind of just going to go through the motions. Every weekend is so meaningful and so fun to battle and play. And I mean, it's a short season, so you have to show up every night or else, it can slip away. So just playing in a league like that, I mean, I think even like the physicality, obviously the PW is kind of increasing their physicality. So I think playing in the ECAC with like the physicality and the pace of play had been awesome. And like I said, like Matt Desrosiers definitely helped me kind of get to that point. I think sometimes I got caught up in, wanting to do everything I can to help the team produce. And it's like, okay, you need to take a step back. And it's like, okay, you're a defenseman first, take care of that, and the rest will come. And I think just breaking down those things, and I had so many resources there. You're always can go on for extra ice, always can, go in the weight room extra. So that also helped me just, prepare for the big weekends. But it's just obviously biased, but it's the best league in college hockey. It was so fun to play in, and you're getting a good battle every night. So
When I say Clarkson St. Lawrence women's game in the middle of the day, what do you think of?
Definitely just a lot of loud kids screaming. That's for sure. But no, those games were awesome. It was packed and loud, and obviously playing SLU is always a good time. So being able to do it like with that kind of crowd, it was awesome.
I'm curious because on the men's side, I coached in it. There was never any relationship except for when you played. Because you're in the North Country and so many of you play internationally together or against one another, is there more of a friendship that's grown between the women at Clarkson or St. Lawrence, or it's just like the guys and it's a whole lot of nasty stuff?
Yeah, I feel like when I was there wasn't a ton of friendship. I know, like we had the Goslings, obviously, so they were cousins, but it wasn't a ton of friendship. But I think it kind of reminds me of like a USA Canada. It's like there's a lot of girls you're friends with off the ice, but as soon as it's time to play, it's kind of none of that matters. So I feel like that's very similar to our rivalry with SLU, and I feel like there were probably a few friendships off the ice, but when it was game time, I think all that was kind of thrown out the window.
From the time you started playing against other women and to where you are now, what's changed the most, Haley?
I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is the physicality, which is exciting. I think it's definitely getting a little more physical, which I think the players are excited about, and I'm sure like the fans. But even like the pace of play, I think girls are getting more skilled and faster, which is cool to see. And it's a fun game to play when everyone is, getting better. And I think through my years in the ECAC, like the league is always getting better, which is really cool to see. And it's always getting more competitive, and which makes it obviously even more fun to play day in and day out. So.
No, that's great. I appreciate what you just said too, because I've noticed that. And one of the things that I think's really helped change the women's game, players like you that can score from a distance. Have you noticed that other young ladies are improving their shots as we go along here?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a big thing that has changed and gotten better. And obviously the goalies are also always getting better. So it's not, too frequently that you see that. But no, I think shots is definitely one thing that has improved a lot.
Let's just say you're fortunate enough and you earn it and you get to the Olympics. How much did preparation with the World Championships help you play at that level?
Yeah, definitely a lot. I think I was fortunate to get my first opportunity. I think it was like my sophomore year at college. And I think, I don't know, there's just so many veterans on our team that kind of take you under their wing and help you throughout that time at the World Championships. And knowing that, even like the rivalry series, knowing that you've played against Canada before, you've played against these countries before, obviously it's the biggest stage in the world, but kind of like taking a breath and being like, you've done it before. So kind of mentally being able to, have that confidence in yourself and in the team that, it's the biggest stage and the most important game, but it's nothing you haven't done before. So I think having those World Championships under your belt definitely help you and put you in the right direction.
Since 1998, every single gold medal game has been played between the United States and Canada, except for one, 2006 in Torino, and a goalie by the name of Kim Martin for Sweden major upset, obviously against Team USA. Do you ladies talk about that at all?
Not a ton. We haven't talked about it, but I think obviously it's always the talk between USA and Canada, but I mean, like we said, how, everyone's always getting better. All these countries are getting better too. Like our last Worlds in Czech, I mean, our semifinal game was like 2-1 game. So it's awesome to see these other countries also developing and just getting better and keeping it close. Cause you always want tight games. Obviously it's always awesome when you're playing against Canada, but to be able to, battle these other countries, it's been really fun, and to see them develop has been awesome.
Just to your point, which I think is such a good point, I just got back from Europe where I spoke at a convention for over 100 pro teams in Europe. And the biggest thing they talked about was the growth of women's hockey in Europe. So I can see where the landscape is starting to change. Back when I was a player, that didn't happen. We're talking way back in the 1980s. But now I can tell you, it's definitely changing. Do you see that in the PWHL now? I know it's your first year, but are you seeing more and more internationals coming into the PWHL?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Boston for sure, we have a decently heavy European team, which is cool to see. But I think a lot of girls are coming over and kind of realizing how strong the league is. And I think obviously expanding this year and in talks of expansion next year will also increase the players coming over, which I think will only obviously help grow the game, which is awesome.
What made you go to Clarkson? You could have gone anywhere. What made you go to Clarkson?
I don't know. It was honestly, growing up, it was always my dream school. My dad went to Clarkson and was a big fan. He didn't play hockey, but obviously was just a big fan of the hockey team. Their men's team was really strong when he went there. And so growing up, it was kind of the only school I knew. So it was my dream school. But then when I was going through the process, I expanded, looked at other schools, was really heavily debating other schools. But I guess Clarkson, cliche, but it just felt like home. I knew I wanted a smaller school, and they were just so set on like the development, which I think was so important for me. And obviously had a winning culture. They had won 3 national championships by then. So yeah, it was kind of just felt right.
What did Matt Desrosiers, what has he meant to your career?
A ton, obviously. That was one thing when I committed. I think he obviously has built a legacy there and has a family. And he said it last year, we are like, the team is one of his children. He's kind of developed it and put so much time and effort into the program that, when I committed, I had full confidence that he was going to be there, for the next however many years. So it was super, super grateful to have him for 4 years. And like I said, just the way he cares about the program, he puts his heart and soul into it. And it's easy to play for a coach like that when they care so much and they want it so bad. You want to obviously give your heart and soul to the program too. And like I said, he's huge on development, which helped me. He knew that I had dreams and aspirations, past college or even during college. And he was so supportive in that and helped me kind of reach those levels, and kind of taught me what it was like to kind of be a pro. And yeah, it was just, he's awesome. And I know he'll continue to do great things with that program.
There are a lot of young women that are going to be watching this interview, and I'd love for you to give them some advice. The difference between playing ECAC and the difference between playing that and pro hockey right now.
Yeah, I think, obviously only have like a game or 2 under my belt, but I think it's a good reminder, like it is the same game. I think sometimes you get caught up in like how big of a step it is. And don't get me wrong, it is a huge step. It's faster, it's more physical and all those things. But at the end of the day, it is the same game. So I think just reminding myself that I've played this game for a while, and, I have the skills and abilities to do make the right play and just playing with instinct. So I think that's been the biggest thing for me. But yeah, I think the biggest difference is just kind of the physicality, and you have, less time and space on the ice, and you're having to make plays quicker and things like that. But like I said, the ECAC does a great job of preparing you for that. And it helps you every step of the way.
Can you give us any inside info in terms of when you think the team might be announced for the Olympics and when you will be heading over?
I don't think we really find out till early January. And then I think with the league and stuff, we'd go over, at the end of January, kind of, beginning, end of January. And then it starts obviously the beginning of February. So I think it's a pretty quick turnaround for it all. So I know it'll be a crazy year, but I'm excited for it.
Who's the team to beat in the PWHL this year?
Obviously, I guess you have to go with Minnesota, the back-to-back Walter Cup champs. But We just played Montreal in our exhibition, which was cool. I think we have a little rivalry going on there, so it was cool to kind of be able to play them for your first exhibition. Obviously, played my XD partner, Nicole Gosling, which was pretty cool to play here in our first pro games, and we'll play them next weekend for our home opener. But yeah, so it was cool to play against them.
I knew Marie-Philip Poulin played, I think, the second game of your exhibition game series up there in Montreal. I've been watching her play for a long time. She really helped change the ladies' game, especially going back to the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver, where her gold medal performance was just off the charts. I called the game with Doc Emmerich, and it was just amazing to watch. What's it like to play against her?
It's awesome. Just honestly being on the same ice as her is great. Obviously, yeah, like you said, she's done so much for the women's game, and she's such a skilled player. I mean, probably obviously one of the most, if not the most skilled in the women's game. So being able to play against her is awesome, and obviously makes you a better player, a better defender for sure. So just being able to see her and watch her and see what she does is awesome. And she's someone, I think a lot of women look up to in the game, and like you said, has done so much for the game. So.
Well, you're doing so much for the game. You've done so much for the ECAC. You've been outstanding for Clarkson University, the ultimate ambassador for all of hockey, not just women's hockey. Haley, thank you so much for everything you've done. I can't believe you took the time to come and visit with us today. It means a lot. It really does, Haley. There are a lot of young ladies who are going to be watching this, and they're going to want to be you. And I think that's so cool. So thank you for being part of ECAC Hockey Decision Makers, because you truly are a key decision maker. I wish you all the best this year, and have a blast if you do go to the Olympics, because it's special.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This was awesome.